Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is at FeelThePaynePW, or Nick Payne if you prefer, and you're watching my 33rd episode here on my team career for F1 2020. Of course, if you haven't checked out my previous episodes, please go do so now. Obviously, Season 2, halfway through Season 2 now, so we're getting to that sort of crunch time where every race counts. And last race, of course, was at the British Grand Prix, home Grand Prix, of course, qualified P5, and as you can see there, in lap 1, I was up into P1 with quite a few quick overtakes on the line, and actually into the Lutfield corner, and then I had sort of a nice team battle with Leclerc, and actually finished in 5th, unfortunately, after all the pit stops, and then my tyre sort of just went off near the end, and Hamilton followed him through to actually drop me from 3rd to 5th, so unfortunately I couldn't really capitalise on the position I had, and that's where I stayed. I qualified 5th, finished 5th, so same position as where I qualified, so not the worst result in the world, but still a bit disappointed as I led the race through after lap 1. But as you can see, as we go through to the activities, I fill them all up with as much as I could possibly can. Filled up all the days that there was there, with obviously all the weight training, chassis team building, the sponsor event, and some power equipment upgrade as well as obviously what you get anyway, which is obviously the weekly funds coming through, just so you can obviously keep afloat. I've got quite a bit of money in the bank, to be fair, as we go through to the season break, and we go through into the next race weekend. This is, and it's the Belgium Grand Prix. Hopefully I can get a better result here after being quite disappointing not to gain any positions, and as we can see in qualifying now. And as you can see, as we go round the final corner up to the straight, break at the 100 metre board here in the Belgian Grand Prix in Spa, of course, one of the most used tracks here in the F1 calendar, as we go straight down just before Rouge here, which is a very tricky corner. It's flat out through there. Need to be careful because you can easily spin off as you go through Rayon at the top of the hill, up the back straight here, brake literally at the 50 metre board. You could sort of afford to do so, as there's cars up ahead on their outlaps, I believe, and that looks to be a McLaren of Lando Norris just up ahead, as we come through into the sort of technical part of the track here, and we're actually getting blocked off by Lando Norris there. Thankfully he did give us enough room round on the outside, but that could have been very worrying for us there, as Nick de Vries also lets us through another car on the outlap as we go around into the long left-hander, into that turn there, as we come into near the end of sector 2 here, just hoping to get as much speed into this final corner of sector 2 as we go over the curb, slowing the car down quite dramatically, which will mean that we do lose a lot of time through that track there, or through the last part of the track here. Hopefully we haven't lost too much there as we come through into the last part of the track, into Blanchimont, and now into the bus stop chicane, into turns 19 and 20, slowing down the car as much as possible here as I sort of go over the curb and actually go wide into turn 20, unfortunately, into a DOS zone, and we do go across the line in P1, so even with a few mistakes we're still P1, so it is looking good for the time being here in the Payne Racing car. And as you can see, after qualifying 1, we do finish in P1 in the first qualifying session. So as we go out for the second session, we do go for the medium option for the tyres, and we do go P2 on the grid. So a good sort of result there, as we do drop down to P5, but we're still ahead of Leclerc, who's on the soft tyre. So as we go wide in our first lap here in Q3, and we do actually make a few mistakes through the lap, and we go P4, but it does drop down to a P7. But thankfully, when we go out for our second lap, we go purple first sector, purple second sector, and it's over 1.2 seconds quicker, and that does mean that we do move up into pole position, another pole position, and now we've got a great chance to get the win in the race.
We're in Belgium once again for today's round of the Formula 1 World Championship. It's a race the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since Michael Schumacher in 1992. Spa-Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 metres of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, a good top speed will be vital for success. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Let's talk about the rookie. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. The rookie lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Bottas, Sebastian Vettel and Sainz, Leclerc, Ocon, Ricciardo and Alexander Albon, Norris, Raikkonen, Pierre Gasly and Perez, Giovinazzi, Magnussen, Lance Stroll and Daniel Kvyat, Russell, De Vries, Matsushita and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
And as we obviously started P1, we got through on the medium tyres, and as you can see on the session forecast, it does look like there's going to be some rain later on in the Grand Prix. Hopefully it does come around the time we're going to pit, so we do go for the one-stop strategy. Hopefully we get this right. Hopefully we manage the tyres well enough on the first stint so we don't even have to use the soft tyres, and hopefully we can just push these medium tyres as long as possible until the rain comes, as we go to 5 red lights here, and we're underway, and we've got a great start ahead of Hamilton, and we are leading this Grand Prix into the first corner as we go slowly through the first turn here, and we've still got Hamilton right on our back, hoping that we can obviously get on through as we go down into turn 2 here. We've got a Rouge up ahead, quite a scary corner as we go flat out through the Rouge, sort of cut the curb into Radion, but we're still in the lead. But as we go down the Kemmel Straight, Hamilton is pushing us as hard as he can as we use it as much overtake, as much rich mixture as we go into Lacombs, as we go through, and we're still in front of, thankfully for the time being here, as we're just in front of Hamilton by like 2/10 of a second at the moment, as we go into the long right-hander there into last sort of turn there. That's quite a dangerous turn if you don't get it right, but thankfully for some reason I have been getting it right, and I have been gaining quite a lot of time just before Pouon on cars behind me. As you can see, I did gain about 4/10 of a second there before Pouon into turn 11 there, as we go through into the long, this is the longest track on the F1 grid, as we go into Stavlot. Just hoping to get as much pace out of the car into this final part of this track, the final sector of the track. Only a 22 lap circuit this is, due to the length of how long it takes to get round the lap, as we go into the bus stop chicane, and we are going to be at the end of lap 1 leading this Grand Prix, and that's where we're going to stay for the time being, as Hamilton is trying to push onto us, but we are nearly 0.8 seconds ahead now in front of the Mercedes driver behind us. As we come on through into lap 6, this is going into lap 7, we're still on, obviously on the medium tyres, but as you can see on the top right corner where the driver board is, Hamilton is now come into the pits down into P5 after such a start. Sort of pushed him down further as we check the weather report, and the rain is coming eventually, so we just got to hold on here as we're into lap 10 into lap 11, and we're still on these medium tyres. Vettel obviously starting on the medium tyres as well. He's up into second, so he's in a great position like me. If he tries doing the same strategy as me, he could be finishing on the podium after finishing outside the top 5, I believe, if I am correct in saying so. As Leclerc's on the hard tyres, currently in P4, we're still in P1. But as we're meant to be boxing this lap, the rain hasn't come yet. I do feel that if we hold off and just hold off, as you can see, just not going to come into the pits. And we've got a purple second sector here. And I do feel these tyres are still good. As you can see, we've got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on these medium compound. So maybe it's a good idea, as Vettel has actually come into the pits now. He's come into the pits to change to the soft tyres. He's not thinking of the same strategy as I am. I'm staying out. And as you can see, the rain's finally coming down here on lap 15 as I'm just trying to nurse these medium tyres as best as I can here. I've checked the weather report just to see.
This rain is going to keep getting stronger for at least the next 15 minutes. Dries seem like
And they say dries is the best tyre, so I am going to stay out, and I nearly slide. I nearly slide as I'm trying to discuss with my engineer whether I should come in or go or stay out as we go through here on lap 16. And it's actually finally been given the option to change to the intermediate tyres now. 3 laps later than obviously when I was meant to come in for the soft tyres. So hopefully we do get a good thing from this, as we're 14 seconds ahead of Verstappen behind us. Obviously they all pit while we just stayed out and tried stretching the medium tyres as long as possible, as DRS is now disabled. And as you can see, there's obviously a warning on the tyres on the MFD just to say that they are worn to hell, as all the cars behind us are coming into the pit for the intermediate tyres as well. And as you can see, Payne Racing is double stacking here, and we're going to stay out in front here in P1 for the remainder of this lap. We had 14 seconds going into the pit stops. We've still got 14 seconds here on lap 20. And we've just been able to keep this pressure, keep in front of Verstappen for the whole entirety of this race. And as we come on through here on the last lap, and it's very difficult going through a Rouge. Careful not to make a mistake there, trying to just keep the car in check. As I do lose concentration, I go onto the grass and break my front wing, which could be catastrophic. Here on the Kemmel Straight, here is a yellow flag due to us. We've got Verstappen and Leclerc directly behind us, chasing us down here. It was 14 seconds before a Rouge. It's now down to 6 seconds. And because we've got damage for the rest of this lap, we've got to nurse this car home to the best of our ability in the wet weather as well, which Verstappen is known for being great at. So we're just going through each turn into the corner that hasn't got a name, just round P1, which will be very difficult with that front wing damage here. So got to take it carefully, slow the car down. Don't do it full pace with the foot down, because we will lose the car completely. But we are still in the lead, and thankfully we've still got the gap to Verstappen behind us to still roughly around 5.5 seconds. So we do look like we're in a comfortable position for the time being, but anything is possible with obviously Verstappen and Leclerc directly behind us, Carlos Sainz and Vettel behind them. But I don't think it's going to be possible, as we're into the fast section of the track now as we go through Blanchimont. Careful not to make any sort of mistake there, just to make sure that we get through to the end of the race. I couldn't care if we finish 0.1 second ahead of Verstappen, but thankfully it's going to be 4.5 seconds in front of Verstappen, and we do come across the line with front wing damage, but to cross the line in pole position in P1, and that's another race win on the board after such a dominant performance with a shaky end.
You can't fault the performance on the track today. A well-deserved victory. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
The faces on our top 3 look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all. And now let's take
Obviously, as we cross the line, we do have two people or the two drivers from Payne Racing on the podium, of course. And Leclerc putting a very impressive performance, to be fair, going from 7th up to P3, gaining quite a few positions in the race, getting some good points on the board for Payne Racing. But thankfully for us, in the World Drivers' Championship, we do get 26 points for the fastest lap and P1, of course. So that's putting Max Verstappen under a bit more pressure in the World Drivers' Championship. And as you can see, it's only 24 points now, one race away. If he gets a DNF and I get a win, we're up into P1 in the Drivers' Championship, and we're up into P2 in the Constructors as well. And that's where we're going to wrap up this video. If you have enjoyed it, please like it. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.